Today I'm going to speak about people using spirituality to bypass their own psychological issues. I see this so much at the minute in the new age space, and it's one of them things, the more you see it, the more you can see it. And there's so many people now using spirituality as another mask to hide their own insecurities and hide their own wounds and trauma that they are yet to face. I see a lot of people go to, and I'm trying to say this in a non-judgmental manner, but it needs calling out, it needs addressing, because these people are putting themselves on some pedestal because they can act like they're spiritually superior to other people because they've done specific spiritual practices. But I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. Just because you've done a plant ceremony in Peru and you've sat with ayahuasca, it doesn't mean you're more enlightened than me. Or it doesn't mean you're more enlightened than Bob here, who does a 9 to 5 and goes to work. Bob might actually be doing something way more spiritual than you ever done, and he doesn't even know what ayahuasca is. He might be sat facing his shit. He might be facing his demons. He might be walking through that pain and choosing not to run and hide. So these spiritual masks that people are wearing and these identities that they're crafting through spirituality is simply just another coping mechanism. It isn't healing, it's trauma wrapped in crystals, it's trauma wrapped in plant ceremonies, it's insecurity wrapped in crystals. Well, let me get in the light 'cause it's getting a bit dark here. You're not healed because you've done a specific practice. You can meditate as much as you want, but if you're not facing your shadow and you're not facing your darkness and you're not actually choosing to take responsibility and accountability for your wounds and for your trauma and for these things that you are yet to integrate and heal, then you're never going to be awakened to your truth. You're never going to be spiritual, because you're using spirituality to actually bypass the very thing what spirituality means. Spirituality is it's pain, it is suffering. It shouldn't be glamorized in the way it's glamorized, because through my experience it's been the complete opposite. My spiritual journey has been nothing but pain and suffering. I've had to die time and time and time again. I've had to fall time and time and time again. I've had to rise time again. It has been a constant death and rebirth, and constant facing myself and facing the parts of myself that I have abandoned, the parts of myself that are crying out to me to be seen. Let me get back in the light, even though we make love to the darkness. So yeah, these people are using it as another way to cover up or avoid. It's mainly avoidance. It's avoidance tactics, because instead of actually sitting there and facing the shit that they need to face, they're using now this healing or these practices to then put on the mask and the persona that they are healed, because they're actually just creating another identity. They're creating another persona through spirituality, and they're feeding into that to give them the inflated sense of self. So it inflates the persona to the fact that they believe that they have spiritual authority over other people who haven't educated themselves as much on spirituality. But spirituality isn't about reading the text, it isn't about having the knowledge, it's about facing yourself. That is what this is about. It's nothing. You can have the most amazing experience in Peru with the shaman, and you can meditate for 12 hours a day, you can wear mandala beads and get a ponytail, but doesn't mean you're awakened. Like, all this stuff, it just becomes yet another identity and another way to avoid doing the difficult work. And this is what everybody's doing. They're avoiding facing themselves, avoiding facing their shadow, avoiding facing the wounds. They're avoiding sitting with that broken, vulnerable child that just wants their attention and wants them to hear what he has to say. I mean, my experience is I never began to actually truly transform and heal, and I've been down this spiritual, I'm speaking through experience here, because I have actually been the person I'm speaking about. I have been that person. I fell into that trap myself, believing that because I've done all these things, I am now awakened and I now know more than other people. It's just another identity, it's another persona. because I had explored spirituality more than the people I was around, I then began to believe that I was then above them because I know something that they don't. But unfortunately, that is not the truth. No matter how much knowledge you have, if you are not putting it into fruition, you are not applying what you know, you are never going to be awakened, you are never going to be spiritual. You're always just going to be playing a character and putting on yet another mask. But this mask that people are wearing through spirituality is the same mask they would have been wearing all their life. It's just a different costume. It's the same mask, it's the same avoidance tactic, just wearing a different costume. It's the same avoidance, it's the same irresponsible, or it's the same person who lacks accountability. They're just masking it in a different way. And what a perfect way to mask your insufficiencies, by claiming that you're super duper spiritual, because you can't really prove that this person is lying. At least with, say for example, I'm using drugs as a way to cope and as a way to avoid facing myself. At least there's not really any excuse. Like, I can say, right, listen, I know what I'm doing is wrong. Like, no matter how deep I went down the path of using an addiction for my coping mechanisms and masking it, I always knew deep down what I was doing is wrong. I always knew it, because you just know, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's just, you're destroying yourself. But this is why spirituality can be even more dangerous, is because you're getting positive feedback from the world, because you've created this inflated sense of self and this persona. You're getting good feedback now because what you say is truth, like in terms of the spiritual esoteric language. So people are like, wow, that's amazing, you must be like super enlightened. So when you're telling people this information that you've gathered, people are thinking then like you're superior, so then that feeds into the ego even more, when in reality you're just deeply insecure and using this knowledge and wisdom which anyone can access, feeding that to other people, and they're giving you the feedback, the positive feedback, and you're like, wow, I am this person, I am this super awakened spiritual person who has all this knowledge and is super intuitive. And when in reality you're just deeply insecure and created, once again, another mask. And it needs calling out, because the only way through this, through my experience, I mean, listen, if there's another way, please enlighten me, because if I could not suffer and not die and not be in pain and not struggle all the time, then brilliant, I'd do that. But all the other avenues that take away that pain and struggle and suffering, they also take away the healing, they also take away the transformative, or just the outcome of experience and sitting with yourself, being at silence with yourself and being truly at peace with who you are and a true acceptance of who you are. So despite all the pain and suffering, that's what you get in return: freedom, peace, love. So in my experience, it is very worth sitting with all that pain, that suffering, and facing yourself time and time and time again. And this never ends, by the way. There isn't an end destination. So when people say they're enlightened or awakened, I mean, yeah, to this point, but then there's going to be another layer, my friend. Don't get complacent, because complacency will stop you in your tracks, and you will get thrown around. If you get complacent, you're going to know about it. You're going to learn the hard way, and I know, because I've been that guy. I thought, wow, yes, I'm at this place now. I'm super awake and super enlightened. I am, you know. But this is just you feeding it. Another, if you think about it like this, if you say I am something, you're more than likely not. I mean, in a universal, like in a, what am I trying to get across here? So yeah, if you're saying positive affirmations, saying I am something, yeah, you can say that to yourself, but that doesn't mean it's true. And if somebody is constantly having to reaffirm their identity to you or to the world by not even directly saying I am spiritual or I am intuitive or I am awakened, even though a lot of people do that, you want to watch out for these people. But just by oversharing and overexpressing the wisdom or the knowledge that they've gathered through the path of spirituality, if they're having to overshare and constantly reaffirm, then there's more than likely they're not true. They're not speaking the truth. they're living a lie. They're living under their own illusion, because if you was deeply spiritual and you was awakened and was true, you wouldn't need to keep having to reaffirm it. It'd be full embodiment. Your energy would speak for itself. And this is where these people need to come to the realization that it's just another bypassing. You're skipping the work, the stuff that actually needs to be done, which is actually going to give you the deep transformative experience. So yeah, you can wear your crystals, your mandala beads, and burn your incense and your sage, but if you ain't doing the inner work, you ain't sitting with your shadow, and you ain't healing that wounded inner child, then I'm afraid you're never going to be awakened or spiritual. And that's the truth. And that's the truth what everybody don't want to hear, but I want to affirm my place in this space now, and I want to put it on a no bullshit approach, because through my experience there has not been no happy fairy tale ending, or there has not been no sunshine and rainbows and dancing around the field naked on mushrooms. There's been none of that. So I'm going to end this video on giving you a few ways now to spot these people, or to identify these people that are claiming to be something that they're not. Firstly, it would be the over-expression or the over-emphasis on explaining or trying to explain to you they are who they say they are. If they have to constantly reaffirm their identity, then they're most likely living a lie. Secondly, watch the behaviour. If the behaviour doesn't align with the words they are saying, or there is a discrepancy between actions and words, they are more than likely living a lie. Always watch somebody's actions, not the words they say. And that's a rule of life. You can carry that anywhere. Actions always speak louder than words, my friends. Thirdly, look who they surround themselves with. Look at what they do in their spare time. Once again, their actions, but their environment and the people they're spending with will closely identify or closely represent who they actually really are beneath the mask or game that they're playing. Lastly, look how they react to you calling them out on things. Look how they react to you pulling back or giving them space. Observe and see how they act, see how they react. If there's emotional outbursts or there's emotional instability displayed, then that's cracks in the mask. You can see it there firsthand. So watch out for these things, because these people are about, and it's not trying to be afraid or be, not at all. Never walk in fear, always walk in faith and always walk in strength, but having the power and the tools to discern truth from illusion is going to serve you very well on this path. Well, this is the hero's journey, so buckle up, because it's going to be a bumpy ride, my friends. Right, I'm signing out on that Earth Ones. Peace.